Wiley. Wiley, come. 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 Hello, hello, hello. There's cars behind me and they're very loud. I wanted to record something outside, and I was gonna set up a umbrella or tarp to put the camera under, and then I realized that we have windows, and it occurred to me that I could just point the camera through a window, and I feel very smart for this. I want that to be known. I feel very smart, so this is my contribution to the cinematic world. You can point cameras through windows, people. I got this new rain jacket at REI, and I did not know rain jackets were so expensive. This shit fucked me. I came in, the only reason I went to REI was because we had like a membership point thing, and so I went in with my membership points. I had like $20 off, which, you know, this jacket was fucking expensive, but that's still, $20 is $20. And I go to the lady at the end, at the cash register, and she says I can't use it because it was like under my dad's name, and I'm like, I have the same last name, I can show you my ID. Like, she needed my ID. I'm like, it's $20, it's not this serious. But she wouldn't accept it, so I'm like, whatever, I'll just pay full price. But then she tried to get me to sign up for a membership, and I was like, no, I don't want a membership. And she just kept talking for like 4 minutes about a not literally 4 minutes, you know what I mean, but she kept talking about a membership. Oh, there's people coming. I'm too awkward for this. Oh, this is awful. Okay, whatever. She kept talking about a membership, and I was not having it. And I literally just looked at her, and I was like, I do not want a membership. And she still tried to give me a membership. I'm like, no means no, girl. I don't know where you're from, but no means no. But I think it was worth in the end. I've been going the last 2 rainy seasons without a rain jacket, and anyone from the Pacific Northwest will know that that is not the best. Fuck, what was that? Some mosquito? I also got new earrings. Look at these. I don't know if you can see very well from in there. Let's do a little fit check, though. Fit check. Bedazzled. These are like, they change color depending on the light, which I feel like is perfect because I'm always wearing colorful outfits. Color is the way to go. It's funny, when I'm on campus, I'm just like the only one in any color because everyone's just in black sweatpants and black sweatshirts, and I'm out here with like bright pink, bright yellow, bright green. So I'm going to talk about some books that I've been reading over this spring break. And the first one I'm going to start with is, I read this book in like a day. I don't even know if it counts as a book. It might be a novella. I'm honestly not. I think 150 pages is a book. It's like 148 pages. That's like the Great Gatsby length, so it counts. But it was Lie With Me by Philippe Besson. I don't have it physically. It's upstairs, and I don't want to move, so we're not going to get it. This book was good. I liked it. was a little sad. It was actually very sad, but I thought it was well written. It was written interestingly. I liked it, but I don't think it's for everyone. The way he writes, he doesn't have like quoted conversations where like one person is talking to another person. It's like it's always talking about it's like he said this or she said that. And so it's a little bit strange in that way, in that it feels very disconnected from the actual happenings, what's happening in the story. I think it took a little bit of getting used to, but after I got used to it, it didn't really affect my enjoyment towards the end. Which, again, this is a sad book. I would not read this if you're looking for like a happy romance book. I know they have like on the front cover it says the writer of Call Me by Your Name is like, this is the best book ever. I don't know what it actually says on the cover, but something like that. I mean, I guess Call Me by Your Name is a sad ending too. Spoilers if you haven't read or seen it. I mean, that's not really spoilers to say it's a sad ending. It's just knowing what to be prepared for. But yeah, that's that book. We have next up Bookshops and Bonedust. I actually listened to this book. I really liked this one. It was very cozy. This is like cozy fantasy. This is a sequel or prequel to Legends and Lattes, which I also liked. Not because like it's nothing like crazy, but just for what it is, it's very cozy. It's very comfortable. Like I'm definitely transported to this. Basically, the plot of the first book is it's like this battle orc, but instead of being like a traditional fantasy story with a battle orc, she settles down and makes a coffee shop, and it's just really wholesome. And so in this one, I think a lot of people, from what I read, were not looking forward to this one going into it because it's a prequel, and so sort of a lot of that romance and a lot of that stuff and friendships from the first book didn't carry over into this one. And I was a little bit worried about that going in, because I'm like, that's kind of like the whole point of a romance is the characters, and you're giving me a prequel, so I don't even get to see all but the main character. But I really liked it. I honestly think it's better than the first one. It's set, instead of in a coffee shop in like a inland city, it's set on like a coastal city, and I was totally imagining all the seaside towns in Washington state, where I'm from. I'll put a few pictures on screen. We even just road tripped the other day to a seaside town, because the whole peninsula, there's a bunch of them, and they're really nice for day trips, but they're all just really cute. They've got really cute stores and streets that you can walk down, and it just gave me that vibe, and I felt like it might have connected more for me there, just because like going to little small towns like that on the coast is like part of my memories, part of my childhood. The way the characters were built up and the characters we saw in this story, I liked more than the ones we saw in the first one. I felt like they were more fleshed out. There was more interesting things happening, and I felt like the way it got wrapped up, because it's weird reading it, because you know the romance isn't going to work out because it's a prequel, you know? Like, she is not going to end up with this person. She's going to end up, obviously, going into the original book. But I didn't find that impacting me at all, and I thought it was really well done. This fucking mosquito bit me. This shit. Motherfucker. Next, I'm going to talk about, this one's got a bit of a intense name. Dude, You're a Fag by C.J. Pascoe. I really liked this book. This is a nonfiction book, and it's I actually read it for a class, my sociology of gender class, and I thought it was very well written. I don't read a lot of nonfiction, but this was a sociological study of a high school in Northern California, and it was basically focusing on masculinity and masculinity within the high school, and how homophobia and sexism is used by young men. And I thought it was a very good read for me, especially because I feel like it was written in, I want to say the study happened in like 2007, and I thought it was a really good read as somebody who's grown up in such a liberal environment, a liberal city. Like, I've never really, I mean, I'm a gay man, but I've never really I've experienced homophobia, but I wouldn't call myself like a oppressed or anything, not in the environment that I am. And so I think it was a very interesting listen to hear sort of what used to happen and what still happens in more rural areas, more conservative areas. And I guess it's a reminder that like work like that is not done in terms of eliminating hyper masculinity, toxic masculinity. Obviously it isn't done, but I think it's a good listen. But I wouldn't recommend it to everyone. I could see this book being triggering for some people if you've experienced stuff like that. But I also think it's a really good, I started her second book, which is one that has just come out I think it's just coming out, but it's from a study from 2019, I want to say, just before the pandemic. And this time she studies a school in Oregon, which is much closer to the type of school that I went to, where it's like hyper liberal. And it's very interesting hearing the difference between 2007 schools and 2019 schools, which I don't think the difference is just time. I think it's also location. Like the first school was rural. This one is, I think, just outside of Portland, so it's more like urban, suburban. But it's been really interesting hearing how she sort of describes the difference between how people acted in the first book and are acting now, and she's sort of noticing that all this progress is being made in terms of people sort of opening up and not being assholes. The title is a little out there. I didn't really mind it. She uses the word fag a lot in the book, but it's very much used. Yeah, I mean, you can't to study on teenage boys without using that word, especially if you're focusing on masculinity, and I felt like it was done well. But I could see that being a turnoff if that word is like a, trigger for some people. In which case, I would recommend the book I'm listening to now, which is her second book. I haven't heard that word used at all. The title, Nice Is Not Enough. The last book I'm going to talk about is Beartown by Fredrik Backman. I picked this up off of, God, where did I see this? I think this got recommended on, I want to say Murphy Napier. I think that's her last name. Her channel on her recommended series video. And I picked it up. I don't know if I'm going to continue with the series just because I heard the other two aren't as good, but this first one is really good. I really liked it. This is my first Bachman book, and I thought it was very well written. The translation aspect didn't really, take anything away from me. I honestly don't think I would have noticed if you didn't tell me it was translated. The prose is certainly nothing like mind-blowing, but it does what it sets out to accomplish, and I don't even know how much I want to say about this book because I got pitched the premise, I guess the inciting incident, which is what made me want to read it, and I didn't mind getting told that, but it doesn't happen till the thing I'm talking about doesn't happen till halfway through, so I don't want to necessarily spoil that if you're going into it. I guess I'll just say on the back cover it does vaguely describe, so basically this is a cozy, nice town in Sweden, and this town is a hockey town, and they're very into hockey, like very into hockey. They are very into hockey. Like they would die for this sport, I swear. These people are actually crazy. I don't think I've ever met somebody this into sports in my life. And I know some people who are really into sports. This is also sort of a book on masculinity. It's sort of examining how the sports culture and how this culture of masculinity and valuing men's ability on the rink sort of affects the goings on of the town. And then this thing happens, and it's about people's reaction to this sort of tragedy that happens, which I'm not going to say what it is. I think in particular, this book has a lot of perspectives, but they don't all get fleshed out fully. Like, there's a few people who we know really well, and then there's some people who, like, there's this nice old woman who's, like, a bartender, and we see her sometimes. She's got, like, 3 chapters, I think. They're not very long. None of the chapters are very long. but her perspective isn't very fleshed out, but not in the way that, like, that's bad. Like, I like that, you know? It's just, like, I feel like we're just getting a little taste of everyone, you know? But when I say not fleshed out, I mean, like, she's not getting, like, 20 chapters dedicated to her, but she is fleshed out as a character, you know? Like, all the characters feel like they're real people, and they feel very well-rounded. And so I really like this one. I also like this one because I wasn't expecting. There's like a little gay romance side plot, very side plot, but that was nice to me. Especially because there's a little bit of a focus on religion as well, and I think it's interesting because I'm pretty sure the author is religious. I want to say, I don't know, don't quote me on that, but just some of the things he was writing there made it seem like he was religious, which I like reading religious people who aren't homophobic write about gay people, because it's just, that's wholesome to me, because I'm like, you can be Christian and gay, like, and I think one of his other books is about sort of that too. I didn't realize he wrote a man called not Otto, because I got confused, because I knew A Man Called Otto was a movie with Tom Hanks, but I didn't. So they changed the name and put it in America, because I guess Americans wouldn't watch a Swedish movie, which is interesting. There's also a show for this book, Beartown. I haven't watched it, just because you can't watch it anywhere. I think they took it off of everything. I looked it up, and it's like some kind of licensing issue or whatever. I don't know. Probably because it's Swedish, so maybe if you get a VPN and watch it in Sweden. It's made by HBO, and I heard really good things about it. So if you can read this and then get a hold of that, then maybe you'll like that. And HBO is like, they make good shit, so I would trust them. I also read Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr, I want to say. I think that's how you pronounce it. This book was really good. I also really like this. There's a lot of good books that I'm talking about right now, because I feel like I research my books a lot, so whenever I read a book, it tends to be one that I like. Yeah, this one follows, this is sort of I don't know if anybody's read Cloud Atlas, but I've heard that this is similar. I haven't read Cloud Atlas, but I'm just saying, I know that's a popular book, so if people have read that, then I've heard that the narrative is similar, the narrative style, in terms of this is following a vast timeline of people. We follow a boy and a girl in Constantinople, in modern day Turkey and the Baltics a little bit, I think, and maybe Greece a little bit. In like the 1600s, I want to say. Might be 1400s. I don't know, a long time ago. Sort of getting ready for this battle that's going to happen in the city, the siege. And then we're following a young man in Idaho in like the 1950s or whatever, and we're sort of following him as he goes to war, does all these things. And then the last one is a perspective set on this ship that's flying through space going to a habitable planet. And basically what we find out, or I don't even want to say that. See, this book is very hard because there's a lot of things that get revealed, and every time something is revealed, you're like, holy shit. And then, like, but there's, like, the reveals, like, it's reveal nested in reveal. So you're like, holy shit. And then, like, 2 seconds later, you're like, holy shit again. But, like, for the completely other reason that I holy shitted before. I really liked the way this story was woven together. It basically follows this Greek tale about a man searching for Cloud Cuckoo Land, this magical place in the sky. And he's sort of, it's almost like he's walking around looking for this magical thing. I didn't actually realize the story isn't real. He made it up for the sake of this, but it's inspired by a real Greek tale. But that surprised me, because the whole time I was like, ooh, I'm learning Greek history here, but no, this shit's fake. But it's inspired by real stuff, so, which I guess makes sense, because I didn't expect, like, the author to, like, go actually translate an entire Greek tale. That would be kind of a lot of work. Oh, I forgot one perspective. We also follow this young man in modern day. So, like, I think he's born in, like, around when I was born, like, early 2000s. And I really like this kid's perspective, I'm really bad at names, so I don't remember what he was called. I read this like a few months ago. I've already forgotten, but that's besides the point. I liked this perspective. He's a autistic kid, and I'm autistic, so I liked it. I thought he was well presented, and I felt like I related to a lot of what he was going through. I have seen some people not liking that he's autistic because this isn't a spoiler. This happens in like literally like the first chapter you see him, but he is sort of a terrorist. I don't know why I said sort of. He is a terrorist. And you're very much made to, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but you're made to sympathize with him. He's manipulated into being extremist. So if that's a turnoff for you, like, because I saw some people saying this is like a stereotype, like not all autistic people are school shooters or terrorists. Honestly, I've never even heard this. I don't know if this is like a stereotype I'm unaware of, but I didn't even know that was a thing. So I don't know. I also looked it up, and apparently there's like some studies saying like autistic people are more prone to getting converted to extremism. Might be fake news, might not be. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I thought the way it was written though was good. It was not villainizing his sort of disability in any way, but I thought it was really well done in the way that all these settings felt so disconnected. Like, we're looking at somebody like 2,000 years in the future hurtling through space. Like, how is that going to connect to like a siege in like the 1400s, and how is that going to connect to people in modern day? But it worked, and it was magical. And I'm considering reading his other book now because of how well this was done. But I don't know if I would like it because it's a World War II book, and I don't like World War II stories. Okay, that sounds bad, but like, there's so many World War II books, so much World War II movies. They heard me. They're dropping the bombs right now. I feel like there's so much World War II media, which like obviously that's a very important story to tell. But like at a certain point, I don't want to read about people suffering in the same way over and over again, you know? Like, I know the history, I know what happened, and it just gets a little, not just sad, but also repetitive after a certain amount of time. Okay, the last one I'm going to talk about is The Will of the Many. I've got quite a few different, like, genres in here. The Will of the Many is a fantasy book, and it's sort of inspired by like Roman culture, Roman life, I guess. I feel like I don't know much about the Romans. We learned all about the Greeks, but I'm not a big Roman expert. I really like this book as well. It's a fantasy book. The way the magic system in this is very similar to Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson, if anybody's read that. I wouldn't be surprised if this was directly inspired by that because of just how similar it is, where basically everybody has like a soul or whatever, and they can seed their soul to somebody else, and then that person has, so like if I get 10 friends together, we seed our soul to one person, and they have 10 people, and then that one person who has 10 people seeded into them will seed to another person, and then all the 10 people with 10 people seeded to them will seed to another. It's like a pyramid structure, a pyramid scheme basically, but with magic. And this is how the whole empire works, is there's like the people at the very top have like thousands below them. As you see, like the person at the very top, since they have like 50,000 people seeded to them, they have the power of 50,000 people. So if they like punch you, you're just fucking like obliterated. There's a lot of capitalistic critique in this book, which I liked, and a lot of critique of colonialism. It felt very critical. I think the author's American. It felt very critical of America, but that might just be my own opinions rubbing off on there. I guess you could, interpret it as any country you want, but we have these different factions who have vastly different perspectives on how the empire should be overthrown, if it should be overthrown. And our character that we follow is going sort of infiltrating. He's the prince of the last standing country that is not part of the empire, but all his family got murdered and shit, and so it's just this guy now, but nobody knows he's alive, and so he has to sort of infiltrate the empire and he goes to like their magic school. And this is a magic school book, but it's not like, I don't know, I didn't get the same magic school vibes as I get from some other books. I thought the magic school was really well done, and there's a lot of mystery in this book, and the ending blew me away, I'll just say that. And I'm very excited for the next one. And the mystery, like constantly when I'm reading this, I'm so excited to find out what's going to happen next. I'm so excited to find out. I still don't know what's happening. I'm so confused, but like in a good way. Like I'm supposed to be confused. The author wants me to be asking these questions. Yeah, I thought our characters were really well done in this one. This is a very slow book, I will say that. But I never found myself getting bored, and I actually, objectively, it is a slow-paced book, but I felt like it moved very quickly. Like I was constantly going. It never annoyed me how long it was or how slow it was. It's got a little bit of a Red Rising in it, where, you know, the one person trying to infiltrate the big baddies, but since this is written in first person present, you're very in the head of the characters, so I feel like there's a lot more, like, he's overthinks a lot of shit, and he is constantly thinking, like, how am I going to one-up this person, how am I going to one-up this, sort of in this social, like, political sphere, and I like that, because I don't know, I like that kind of mind game shit. It reminded me a lot of Dune in that way, where there's constantly, like, not, Dune does it way better, I think, but that's not an insult to this book. Dune is Dune, great book, peak sci-fi. It reminded me of that in a lot of the ways where, like, Dune, like, people will be sitting and having a dinner, and like that dinner scene in the first book, I'm sad they didn't put it in the movie, but I don't think they could have really put it in. I don't know how that would even work. These sort of small interactions have so much impact and so much sort of nuance in terms of the larger political scheming, and I feel like this book did not so much in terms of the larger impact, but in terms of our characters sort of acting in a way constantly, and he's trying to deliberately do certain things so that people perceive him a certain way. So that's pretty much everything I read so far this year. I mean, there's a few more, but mostly nonfiction and mostly stuff I didn't really care to think about too much, just stuff for school. In terms of what I'm reading right now and what I'll finish next, I'm reading The God of Small Things by Arundhati. I'm like 75 to 90% of the way through that. I'm very close to finishing. And then I'm also reading Maurice by E.M. Forster, There by Tommy Orange, and I started Babel by R.F. Kuang. And I'm also, as I said, I'm listening to Nice Is Not Enough by C.J. Pascoe. And I'm also listening to the World War Z book, but I'm thinking I'll DNF that. I don't know if I'm going to finish that. It's not. It's okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it.